Vishnupat Paramahansa Parivacharya Ashoka Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Chandaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutla Srimate Bir Krishna Goswami Niti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyate Sudashti Nishtha Bem Tasya Vakya Anuvadine. Okay, good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class in ISKCON Sydney. Welcome to all our Mayapur online TV viewers. Thank you for attending the class. And also to those who are on ISKCON Sydney YouTube and Facebook. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 25, which is titled The Glories of Devotional Service. And we are reading from text 3. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Yad yad vidyate Bhagavan Swachandatmatma Mayayaya Tani me Shraddha Danasya Kirtanyani Anukirtaya Yad yad vidyate Bhagavan Swachandatmatma Mayayaya Tani me Shraddha Danasya Kirtanyani Anukirtaya Yad yad vidyate Bhagavan Swachandatmatma Mayayaya Mayaya, yes. Tani me Shraddha Danasya Kirtanyani Anukirtaya Yad vidyate Bhagavan Swachandatmatma Mayaya Tani me Shraddha Danasya कीर्तन्यानि अनुकीर्तया यद्यद् विदत्ते भगवान् स्वच्छन्दात्मात्मया तानि मे श्रद्धा दानस्य कीर्तन्यानि अनुकीर्तया यद्यद् विद्यते भगवान् स्वच्छन्दात्मात्मया मयया तानि मे श्रद्धानस्य कीर्तन्यानि अनुकीर्तया यद्यद् विद्यते भगवान् स्वच्छन्दात्मात्मया तानि मे श्रद्धानस्य कीर्तन्यानि अनुकीर्तया. Okay. Yat yat, whatever, vidyate, he performs, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Swachanda Atma, full of self-desire, Atma Mayaya, by his internal potency, Tani, all of them, may, to me, Shraddha Danasya, faithful, Kirtan Yani, worth of praise, Anukirtaya, please describe. So we've got a translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assume all these activities by his internal potency. So we can all repeat. Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. Okay, so purport. The word Anukirtaya is very significant. Anukirtaya means to follow the description, not to create a concocted mental description, but to follow. That one is packed with quite a lot of meaning, because at the moment we have this is actually asking us to follow things as it is. Anukirtya means to follow the description, not to create a concocted mental description. In other words, not to make something up and follow that. So that's why Prabhupada made the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Nothing that is mentally concocted. So it's a very, very important instruction for all Vaishnavas within ISKCON, or anyone who's aspiring to follow Krishna, is to follow something that is as it is, rather than something that is made up or meant of mental speculation or thought up of or a perception provided by somebody else. It's really a very, it's a statement that's made because it's actually happening. So Prabhupada must have put it in the purport just to point out that such things are happening, that we do have the Vedic Shastras, and we do tend to read it, but we tend to mentally not us, but they are devotees, or they are, people out there who mentally concoct these translations and mold and bend these instructions to portray their own perception of the Vedic Shastras. So it's really important for us to follow things as it is, rather than based on somebody else's speculation. And that's why there's a result of our Bhagavad Gita. There's many versions out there. So I come from Fiji where, there are Indians there. And they have these Bhagavad Gitas. And we ask them, the ISKCON members, Hare Krishna devotees, they'll say, do you have a Bhagavad Gita when we go for book distribution? Oh, we've got a Bhagavad Gita. So the next question is, do you have Bhagavad Gita as it is? Then they'll say, well, we don't know. So it's really important. And then when we try to explain, this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, and then we distribute. So the first one is really actually quite important. The reason for that statement is that we can easily get distracted and go on a different path if we follow somebody else's concoction. So really, really important, that first sentence. Anukirtaya means to follow the description, not to create a concocted mental description, but to follow. Shaunaka Rishi requested Sutta Goswami, because Sutta Goswami is a spiritual master, right? So Shaunaka Rishi requested Sutta Goswami to describe what he had actually heard from his spiritual master. Sukadev Goswami about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord manifested by his internal energy. So again, Shaunaka Rishi is requesting Sutta Goswami to relate things that was given to him by his spiritual master, not by somebody else or not by some mental speculation. It's very pointed, and it's an example for us. So Shaunaka Rishi, he requested Sutta Goswami to describe what he had actually heard from his spiritual master, Sukadev Goswami, about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord manifested by his internal energy. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no material body, but he can assume any kind of body by his supreme will. That is made possible by his internal energy. Okay, so Mangal Charan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Trubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this one is rather than this is a direct instruction given to us by Srila Prabhupada. You will find that when we went actually to India for the first time, some of the instructions that I received, not just myself, but the group of disciples, devotees who had gone to visit there, we all got the same instruction from our spiritual master. Try not to mix with the Babajis there. Be aware or be cautious of the Babajis there. Because some of them are highly, devoted, but their perception or the perspective of our Shastras can be distracted or can point to another direction. So here, Shaunaka Rishi is asking directly, Sutta Goswami, what did you hear? Because this kind of points us and gives us guidance that we should really be hearing not from Babajis or some, other branches. Even there are devotees who are, how shall I say, um, just come from somewhere and trying to join ISKCON. They have their own philosophies, and they try to preach. I mean, those of us who are in the temple, you have experienced this. When someone new comes along, they give their own perspective of things and try to impose that. So it is very important for us to stick with instructions of Srila Prabhupada rather than someone else. The reason is Prabhupada is authority and comes from disciplic succession. So this particular shlok is actually all about disciplic succession, first of all, but to follow instructions as it is, secondly. And the title of the chapter itself is The Glories of Devotional Service. So we'll speak a little bit about devotional service, but how important it is to actually hear from those in authority coming from our line. There are some temples, not ours. Ours is quite liberal, and it gives fair chance of everyone for devotional service. So anyone can give a class provided they know what they're saying and have done research. But there are some temples who will not allow someone to give a class even unless they are initiated. And that's how strictly they want to follow the disciplic succession, but coming from Srila Prabhupada, instructions from Srila Prabhupada. So in other words, take classes or hear from someone who is a representative, bona fide representative of Srila Prabhupada, initiated in our sampradaya. The reason being, Srila Prabhupada gives this example, so you would have heard it. You know, listening from somebody, like drinking milk that has been tainted by a serpent. You know, if a serpent drinks that milk, it's poisonous. You drink it, you'll become poisoned. And then the other one is obviously to put your hand on a paint or something that's sticky. You'll get it on yours. So before you know it, your direction changes. So this is a kind of a pointer or a caution to our preachers. When we preach to people, when we speak to people, it is important, obviously, to give the instructions to Srila Prabhupada, but it is also important not to absorb the philosophy from the other side. Very important. Not only that, when I was, so I'm giving a little bit of my experience and what I've come across in my years of bhakti, in Krishna consciousness. When I was listening to kirtans even, in the beginning, I was not initiated. And I was listening to kirtans, and my spiritual master was due to pay a visit in my house for a short visit. I was not initiated, but some devotees had arranged for my spiritual master to visit me. That's the thing, he goes knocking on door to door. Very few people do that. People, knock on your door and say, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, and this is Krishna's philosophy, become a devotee, chant Hare Krishna. And my spiritual master, at that level, he does that. He goes from door to door knocking. So he came, and the kirtan I had on was a kind of commercial. I don't know who it was, the singer, but they sing for money, like one of those Bollywood. But they were singing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I thought it sounded nice, so I had it on. So the moment my guru stepped on the threshold of my house and he heard this, he looked at me and he goes, this is not the right kirtan to hear. You have to hear from our acharyas. You have to hear from our devotees. So sometimes, and the reason was, he gave later on, not at that particular moment, because in my, initial stage of bhakti, we cannot be so heavy. So we've got to be a little bit mild and put it a little bit gentle. So he didn't give me the full explanation at the time. But later on, he said it's just like absorbing their energies. Their energies, but their way of life, you can actually become like them. They're not followers. They're not Vaishnavas. So I was listening to a class from Prabhupada last night about this particular text because of how to present it. And Prabhupada in his class was also differentiating between those Vaishnava philosophies and those non-Vaishnava philosophies, basically the Mayavadis. And they are two different things. And they interpret the same Shastra but in different ways. So, and if you listen to someone who is not Vaishnav, then you will absorb that and you will become that. And your path through Krishna, to Krishna is gone, basically. So it's very important to stick with our own. Now, that might seem a little bit, discriminatory, but it is really for your own protection. So from the beginning, when my spiritual master came to my house, he corrected me right there at the doorstep. And from then day onwards, I was running around trying to find which kirtans to listen to even, not even the classes, not, let alone the classes that I was listening to. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to be able to receive that instruction. So from there, I stuck with, luckily, my spiritual master had taken out an album that time, two albums. So I listened to his kirtans. And there was a temple kirtans. I guess it was in a studio in UK somewhere. So I listened to that. So that was the foundation. And I believe that helped a lot. In my spiritual progress, personally. And then talking about being at the right place at the right time, when I was with Krishna, I just received initiation and went to Krishnangi Mataji's house to give her a hand in cooking. And Sankarshan Maharaj had visited. And he called me. I related this story in the last class. I'm actually relating this story so that it might help you or help somebody else somewhere. And just give a perspective of how important it is to listen to our own acharyas. Sankarshan Maharaj called me and he said, "Who's your spiritual master?" And I said, "His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj." And he said, "What instructions did he give you?" And I said, "I've just been initiated, so I've just been instructed to chant my rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles." I think I told it in the last class. But he said, "So, don't follow," now to give you the further story on that, "don't follow anyone or anything, he said. Listen to your spiritual master's class. That's your instruction." So he also ended up giving me one instruction. At a very early stage, I had just been initiated and came to Australia from New Zealand. And at that early stage, he gave me that instruction. And I considered at that time, even I had whatever intelligence I had, that all of Srila Prabhupada's sons who are initiating spiritual masters are just the same as my spiritual master. So there was no difference. Actually, I was running around at her house serving Sankarshan Maharaj like he was my own spiritual master. I didn't discriminate between one spiritual master to the other. So I was working really hard because there was no other ladies. So I was really, really cooking this, running around. So he must have noticed. And so he called me. He said, "Listen to the instructions that your spiritual master gave you, obviously is that, but I'm telling you to listen to the classes of your spiritual master, your own spiritual master." So he left, and then Krishnangi and I, we sat down and we deliberated what to do, because in those days we did not have the USB and we did not have the YouTube and we did not have, I don't know whether we had the MP3 players. We had those CDs, those discs, those round discs. So she said, "I've got some here, you've got to take them." So that was the start of my initiation into Krishna consciousness. First, I had the instruction to listen to kirtans from our Hare Krishna devotees only, Vaishnavas, not commercial. Secondly, to listen to classes of my spiritual master to receive my instructions. Because a lot of us who are initiated and we think, what are my instructions? What did my guru tell me? How to, conduct myself? What am I supposed to do after initiation? So Sankarshan Maharaj told me, listen to the classes of your spiritual master. And that's what I did. And I used to, then after that, Facebook came on, and then my spiritual master started giving class on Facebook, so I used to follow on that. Now it's on Zoom, and I'm still following it up till today. But that pearl of wisdom that it was a huge blessing, huge, immense blessing that Sankarshan Maharaj had given me. If he had not told me at that time to listen to the classes of my spiritual master, who knows where I would have been. I may not have been sitting here and speaking to you about these Shastras. That was, so there's two very important points and aspects to this is, first of all, obviously, to follow our disciplic succession. But secondly, to serve the Vaishnavas, because you don't know what mercy you will get. I didn't know I was going to receive mercy at that time. But how important it is to serve. Another mercy, I had not prepared to speak like this. I had got something else on my phone, but my class is taking a different direction. Maybe it's Srila Prabhupada's wish. Another instruction that I received, I'll share this because this will give us some motivation and inspiration on how to serve Vaishnavas in your journey, in your spiritual life. Jayapataka Maharaj had come here. And I didn't know what to do to serve him, obviously, but just went for darshan. And the minute he saw me, he said, "How are you?" It was like he knew me. I didn't know him. And he had said a lot of things. And then, like a few times I met him. And he said, "How come I haven't been to your house yet? I've got to come to your house." And I said, because I was on my way back home to Fiji, so I didn't have a flat. Actually, I still don't have a flat. So even if he comes, he won't be able to visit me. He said, "I want to come to your house." This is not my spiritual master, but that's how, that was a mercy I was receiving at the time I didn't know. So I said to him, "Why don't you come to Fiji?" And that's a beautiful temple there, the Krishna Kaliya temple. They love you there. You just come there. And he looked at me and he smiled. And he started speaking in Fiji, not Fiji Hindi, in Shuddh Hindi. His Hindi was better than mine. It's true. He knows Bengali too. His Hindi was definitely better than mine. I was really impressed. I think Ghanshyam Govinda Prabhu was also there watching this. I was just, wow. Anyway, then he said to me in another meeting, "Why haven't you been to Mayapur yet?" And I was like, "I didn't come to Mayapur because Krishna didn't call me. He didn't arrange me." He said, "Don't blame Krishna." He said, "But I'm calling you. I'm calling you." And he called me 3 times. And before I knew it, I was in Mayapur in 3 weeks. Hema Kanti is her name. She's a disciple of Jayapataka Goswami Maharaj. Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And she just wrote to me randomly out of nowhere. I didn't really write to her. And she said, "Gora Purnima is coming. Would you like to come? And I'll arrange the accommodation." Da 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 da. And I thought, maybe somebody from Jayapataka Maharaj, group, disciples, must have contacted her to contact me to call me over. It wasn't like that at all. She just randomly called me. And within 3 weeks, I was there. But such is the blessing of our acharyas. So serve them, and you never know from which direction the mercy is going to come. You just never know. And with Janananda Maharaj, these are our acharyas, because these are Srila Prabhupada's disciples. They are not ordinary. Janananda Maharaj visited in his days. And he's very good with Sankirtan, as you know, his Harinams. So on those days, I was just first initiated, running around with all the other brahmacharinis. We used to have a brahmacharini ashram there. And just running around with them, and he needed a phone because he had to receive a call. So nobody was giving him a phone. I had a phone. I gave him a phone to Janananda Maharaj. He took it away. He received his call, whoever was supposed to call me. And then he decided to make a call. And, in those days, we didn't have much money. Unlimited calls wasn't there. So my phone didn't have any money on it. But he still made a call. And then he came up and gave me a phone. He said, "Your phone doesn't have any money on it. I'm trying to make a call." However, I am trying to arrange a Harinam. And I want to go out and do some Harinam right now. There was no arrangement, no organization, no advertisements, no flyers like how we have now, no WhatsApp groups to call everybody. He just said, get everybody now and let's go. I was holding my phone thinking there's no money in there, and I'm looking around, there are no devotees here. What am I going to do? We just got the cook, the sweeper, whoever it was in the temple, we just made, and then a few girls who had come, for prasadam or something, just to talk, chat. We made a group of 10 or something. We just went out and Harinam. Got the lesson of my life that day, how important it is to spread the holy names. And we just did that. Fun times, the glorious days. But we receive, just like I was saying, wet paint. You touch the wet paint and you receive, a little bit. So it's better that you associate with acharyas, if you get the opportunity. Janananda Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, Sankarshan Maharaj, these were my experiences. And along the way, I picked up things, just like that, without even consciously trying. And those blessings come across. So, but we receive directly from disciples of Srila Prabhupada. That's the whole point. So the direction that you receive is quite good. It's fantastic. So now, coming back to the point of devotional service, because this whole chapter is about devotional service. And unless and until you associate with somebody who's been practicing devotional service in the right manner, you won't even begin to practice a proper devotional service. So those were the early days for me. But by being at the right place at the right time, by mercy of Gopinath, I was able to associate with those devotees who were practicing devotional service. And in my little way, not so great, I was able to practice some devotional service along the way, that over the years, so many obstacles came. I was asked to, we won't go into politics of things, but there's many obstacles which come in ISKCON. It does. And people sometimes give up and leave. It's happened. But if you have your devotional service down with a very strong foundation, with the right people behind you, learning from the right mentors and acharyas, you'll never ever waver. Your step will never waver. You will always stay. In your devotional service is going to save you from leaving, which is what happened with me. I was told, never leave your devotional service. Never leave your service. So no matter what happens, I try to, whatever little service I have, whether it was cooking, it was paraphernalia. I used to travel from Randwick, drive early in the morning just to do paraphernalia. It was very important. Any service is important. Any. So that's devotional service. I'm just going to read a few notes on some of the aspects of devotional service, because this chapter is about that. And last week I read a little bit from one of my other classes. This devotional service is a long topic and it's huge. You can keep talking about it. Srila Prabhupada in his class last night told us there's the 9 processes which we discussed last class. And he said the beginning, the 9 processes of bhakti, the beginning is hearing. That's the beginning. Shraddha, which we just talked about today, Shraddha Dhanasya. That's what it is, hearing. With Shraddha, with the enthusiasm. He said if you don't have enthusiasm, if you don't have the will to listen, nothing will work. That's Srila Prabhupada. If you're listening with half a heart, or you think, oh, I was told to listen, so I'm going to listen. Don't really want to, but no, it's got to be enthusiastic. Let's listen. What it has to. I used to follow my spiritual master with so much enthusiasm. What did he have to say? But then he gave me a really interesting dream, so that's why there was a backup there, reinforcement. We'll talk about that later. But there was this enthusiasm to listen and then, learn. Although I don't claim to be great or anything, but it still kept me in ISKCON, despite the obstacles that come across. That's the whole point. So I've got, this is a class by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And he says, devotional service, the key to devotional service is your spiritual master. That's what he says. So for him, Srila Prabhupada was everything. So, if you read chapter 9 in the Bhagavad Gita, 9.1 and 9.2, it will give you the potency of devotional service, and it will give you the happiness you derive in devotional service. He says it is important not to get entangled in rituals. And this is something that's described by my spiritual master as well. The rituals, you know how we get, like when somebody yawns, you snap your fingers. Have you seen that? People snap their fingers. No, you're not supposed to do any of those things. Maybe you can cover your mouth or something to avoid spreading the germs. But this snapping of fingers, and these are rituals. Not to get entangled in that. It's not devotional service. In no way is it favorable to Krishna. And those kind of things. So, and even those mudras that we perform, in the early days, nobody did that. You know those, even I do that, because we've been told to do those things. And in the beginning, in the movement, nobody did that. And Srila Prabhupada never taught anybody those mudras. Srila Prabhupada taught deity worship himself to the Westerners, because they never had performed any pujas, any artis. So they got it directly from the master. And he never taught them mudras. So it's important not to get too involved in those rituals, because that's not bhakti. Actually, the entire point of doing devotional service is what? To love Krishna. To serve him with love, to maintain your faith. So doing all kinds of weird movements is not really performing, getting love. It's not weird. I should not blaspheme those things. So sorry about that. But really, those actions would not get you love of Krishna. It's the whole point. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj says he inquires submissively from the Guru, the spiritual master. And the example he gave was of his own. And he says, whatever the spiritual master says, you follow, obviously. So we've established we need to read the Shastras from the right places, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We've established that we need to follow acharyas who are from the disciplic succession, not from outside, right? Then the third part is we inquire from a spiritual master. And whatever the spiritual master says, we have to follow that. In the early days also, when I was thinking, I had a dream. I usually have these dreams. I'm lucky enough to have it. Some of those realizations, and I was told, actually I was wide awake. That was not a dream. I was told, never say no to your spiritual master. Never. So whatever he says, yes. Only him, obviously. It doesn't apply to other people. And the other day, my spiritual master says, there is one instance where you can say no to your spiritual master in one condition. Can anybody guess? If the spiritual master tells you to do something and you can say no. Any wild guesses? It's okay if you get it wrong or it's different. Wild guesses? What do you? Yes? Don't follow me. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one. I agree with that one, actually. But that was not what he said. He said, when the spiritual master asks you to get married and you don't want to get married, you can say no. That's the only time you can say no. That's what he said in his class. But we inquire submissively from him. And what he says we have to do. So the story that Tamal Krishna Maharaj gave was a China story. You have heard of that one, right? He was going out on Sankirtan in Miami somewhere, was it? And, well, in the States. And he was stealing the brahmacharis, and taking them for his own Damodar party. And they had a bus and they used to go in the Damodar party and then go and do their book distribution or whatever it was. And so he needed boys, devotees. So he used to steal them from the temple. And the temple president complained to Srila Prabhupada, I'm training my brahmacharis and Tamal Krishna Maharaj is taking them away somewhere and, taking them away from service. So Srila Prabhupada questioned him and he said, well, where am I supposed to go and get these devotees? Am I supposed to go to China? He said that. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna is speaking through you. Yes, you need to go to China. He got sent to China. It was a little dangerous, actually. Tamal Krishna Maharaj describes that when, not Tamal Krishna Maharaj, this is Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He said in a class when some devotees were sent to Pakistan, Arab countries, or was it Afghanistan? And it's very dangerous there. There's terrorism happening there right now. So in those times, it was no different. It just wasn't publicized so much. The boys came back, and Srila Prabhupada physically tapped them and hugged them. Are you okay? Are you okay? This is dangerous. So Srila Prabhupada is so caring. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was sent to China. He said that in anger. He said, am I supposed to go to China to get this? And he said, yes, Krishna is speaking through you. Go to China. So there was this, it's a communist country. We can't even wear in those days, your kanti mala, your devotee outfit, can't do that. So he went dressed as an ordinary person in trousers and shirt. And under the disguise, there was a liquor company. There was a liquor company. And he went representing some kind of, business deal. So he went under the disguise to China. Tamal Krishna Maharaj did not say no. The whole point is never say no to your spiritual master. He never said no. He went on a dangerous mission to a dangerous country under disguise. And today we have so many Chinese devotees. So many. And they thrive on the instructions left behind by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Obviously, when he returned, Srila Prabhupada was very concerned. But that was a very good story, the China story. It's legendary. Actually, the interaction between Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada is really good. There's another interaction where I haven't even begun to spoke about the whole class. It's almost time. Tamal Krishna Maharaj used to, openly debate with Srila Prabhupada. And I think he was bullying a few devotees, or not bullying, but being very bossy. He is very bossy. Never be chastised by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, never. He will cry for a very long time, it's really heavy. So he was doing whatever he does best. So Srila Prabhupada decided to chastise him. He said, there's a huge universe, and in that universe there are many planets, and in those planets there are many inhabitants, and then there is one planet called Earth, and in that planet Earth there are many countries, and in those many countries there is one country, America, and there's a suburb, and then there's a street, and then there is one little house in there, and somebody called Tamal Krishna Maharaj thinks he's God, he's important. He just pinpointed you. So just a dot in the universe, maybe not even a dot. So the interaction between Guru and spiritual master. When the spiritual master does that, I got my share of chastisement, by the way. Over the years, you get to know your spiritual master. To keep you in line. It makes you a better devotee. It makes you stronger. And the service that you do it surpasses everything else. At that point, whenever you get chastisement, it is not really chastisement, it is empowerment. It is empowerment. Your spiritual master, if he chastises you for anything, at that point, at that instant, you are being empowered for something. That's really my personal experience. That is how I looked at it. It is your empowerment. And after that, you are able to achieve so many things if you take those instructions to heart. So look for an opportunity where your spiritual master actually chastises you. Obviously, don't go out and do something artificially naughty. But I actually thank those people. There are many people who, this is an instance, this is a time for some story relating. This is not supposed to be the class I'm giving. But at Krishna Kaliya temple, one Mataji was very annoyed with me because I had done something with the garlands. I was supposed to make garlands. Actually, from that day onwards, I don't even touch garlands. These garland ladies here, a whole team of them, I never joined them. Very rarely do I make garlands. It was the thickness of it or the width of it or something like that. And I said, no, that's fine. You should give them to the Lordship. They will wear it. And she went and complained to the temple president because the way I had related to her made her annoyed. So she went and literally cried tears. Mataji did this. Sorry, I'm saying these things like that, but this is how we relate. I didn't know that she was going to cry. She went and cried. And the temple president said, and at that time I happened to walk in. He was doing some typing on the computer, and I happened to walk in the office to do some donations or something like that. And he said, just as well you came in. I'm about to write to your spiritual master. But what you've done? Like, oh my God, what did I do? Oh my God. It was an issue about a little issue about a garland. He was going to write to my spiritual master. This Mataji is so heavy. Oh dear. And then I explained, this happened and that happened. And he said, oh, okay, then that's fine. But this is a really pointer that any actions you do reflects on your spiritual master straight away. Straight away. If so-and-so devotee said something, they'll say, oh, who is his spiritual master? Whose disciple is he? Straight away it reflects. So we've got to be very careful of our actions. I learned that day not to do something. But there are many emails that would have gone and receiving chastisement from him. It happens. Don't make this person cry. Don't be too strict. Don't be too heavy. Be nice. And I have to thank those people, and that's how we should look at it, that these complaints went through, because receiving chastisement in that point, I received empowerment. I received the impetus to chant better, to serve better, to relate to people better. That's the kind of mood. So here the mood of Shaunaka Rishi also is to inquire from someone who has got the knowledge directly from God, directly from the right source. And we take those instructions to heart, and then we go with it. And then we chant Hare Krishna. We make better devotees, we make stronger devotees, we make empowered devotees. And we are able to help others. And at the end of the class, Srila Prabhupada said, I'm going to read it. It's actually in my phone that I had taken a snapshot. What Prabhupada said was, there's so many snapshots I've taken. He said, our business at the end of this, our goal is to enlighten people how to become relieved from this entanglement of material life. That is our goal. Not just to take ourselves out, but to help others be relieved from the entanglement of material life. And he said it is the duty, especially if you are born in Bharatvarsha, it is the duty of every person who has been born in the Bharatvarsha to preach the glories of Lord Krishna. He said that in his class. Now we are born in the West. I'm born in the West. But it is a duty to preach and get others out of material entanglement. Material entanglement is the way that the life And accepting material life is temporary, but it puts others in misery. So then they are in the cycle of birth and death. And so they are forever entangled in misery, one or the other. So getting them out of the material life is to make sure that they never return, they never take birth, and they achieve a spiritual life, spiritual body, no tears, no anxiety, no stress, no miseries. So that was the whole lesson that Prabhupada had given in that class. Was not just to deliver ourselves, but it is our duty to deliver others out of this entanglement in material life. And to follow the Bhagavad Gita as it is, to follow our Shastras as it is without deviation. Even to the point of listening to kirtans and classes. So thank you for listening. Is there any comment or question? Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes. 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 Okay. So the question is, when Shaunak Rishi asked Sutta Goswami to describe, it says here, what he had actually heard, what was he actually asking, right? What was he trying to... Oh, yes. So he's trying to ask about faithfulness. So the faithfulness, in my understanding, is obviously to listen from the right source. In other words, faithfulness to Bhagwan or Supreme Personality of Godhead, rather than someone else. So in that sense, Srila Prabhupada had related in his class. He said, Lord Krishna, in his activities, right? The faith that Shaunak Rishi is wanting is basically the activities coming directly from Krishna, or the actual in truth. What is truth? I think that's probably the best way of saying what is truth, rather than something that's made up. That is what he was asking. So Prabhupada in his class had said, Lord Krishna is Swachantatmatma, whatever this word is here, Swachantatmatma. That means that Lord Krishna is full of bliss, and he's always happy, and he's always peaceful. There is no anxiety, no stress. So when Krishna does his pastimes, now we're coming to the point of this faithfulness. When he does his pastimes, he does them so as his desire. However, he never leaves Vrindavan. So then when he's killing demons, who is it who's killing demons? When he's got an expansion of himself, doing some other activities. But he's there, the original Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So what he was saying is the expansions, the ones who's killing demons, that's Vasudev, Krishna. And he's a Chaturvyuha, that is the Sankarshan, Aditya, Aniruddha, and the other ones, what was it? Yes, Vishnu and, yes, Pradyumna. So these ones, these expansions, they are also the same quality that Krishna has. So they are also Swachand. In other words, they are also peaceful. And then he compared that to, say, for example, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Durga, Kali. He said, Lord Brahma is in anxiety on creation. He said, suppose you make an organization. And in that organization, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. You are in anxiety about how the operations are going to be. So you are, instantly in some kind of anxiety. He said, Kali is there, goddess Kali. with her swords and everything for her activities. Lord Shiva is there dancing with this Trishula because his job is to do annihilation. And Durga also, goddess Durga. So he said, but Krishna is not like that. Krishna is just like a boss with a secretary. And he gives his job to the secretaries. And he knows for sure they'll get it done. While he is with Radharani playing flute. So, and this is the truth. So, what Shaunak Rishi was asking from Shukadev Goswami is those activities which are as it is. Rather, what is Krishna? Who is Krishna? His activities and his expansions. They have the same quality. They are all in bliss. They are all full of peace and happiness and bliss. They are not in anxiety compared with the demigods or other secretaries of his who are, busy doing something. And when and that differentiates him from the rest. In other words, what makes him the personality of Godhead? This is my understanding. And knowing that Krishna is, he remains as he is without any anxieties, enforces the fact that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It enforces the fact that he is God. So Shaunak Rishi was after this knowledge. What sets Krishna apart from the rest? What sets Krishna, what is his activities compared to the others? And what is the truth? And Prabhupada had said, the truth, from what I remember, there cannot be any material concoctions made out of the truth. In other words, just like there is sun and there is sunlight, the sun is the truth and sunlight is also the truth. In other words, they're the same. We cannot say that, okay, the sun is the truth and sunlight isn't. We make something else out of it. They're one and the same. So Krishna, in his original form or in his manifestations, performing activities, one and the same, as opposed to, say, demigods and others. So Shaunak Rishi was after this knowledge of the actual activities of the Krishna himself and his expansions. And it's a very long story. That's why we've got the Srimad Bhagavatam, because the activities of Lord Krishna and his devotees, it fills all the cantos. So he was after that information, which would, without deviation, prove that this is Lord Krishna. And another example that Prabhupada had given was gold. If you make earrings out of gold, the earrings would still be gold. So the